Jonathan, good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, you know what?
The TV didn't turn on.
This is my favorite time of the day.
It is not my favorite time of the day.
But I love this show.
Well, okay. So parts of the day, you got noon mass. This is a highlight of the day. I'll give you that much.
A highlight.
A highlight
of the day.
But
I hope it's a highlight of your day.
I hope, yeah.
I know, yeah.
Whatever it is. Because since it's recorded, it could be at any time of the day. And it'd still be the highlight.
And it could be at multiple times of the day.
I'm sure some people, from the way people talk, I'm sure some people might watch it once, maybe even twice.
Maybe even 3 times?
I don't know about that. Let's not get crazy.
Yeah. They watch it once and they focus on you, Jonathan. And then they watch it again and they focus on me. That's how I would watch it. Or maybe I would just watch it focusing on me.
Probably. Oh, Father Jeff.
So, what's new and exciting? Have you done anything?
JJ started preschool today.
Oh, today was the first day of preschool?
Today's the first day of preschool. So
How old is he?
He is 4.
4. Okay.
So he's kind of on the younger end.
Yeah.
Because his birthday's in March. So
Okay. Is he excited?
he was so excited. He is not a morning person.
Really?
Yeah. My Joshua, he's a morning person. He likes getting up early. On the weekends, he's the first one awake. JJ will stay in bed as long as he can, and he's only 4. And waking JJ up. But today, he's like, I'm so excited to go to school. So
Did he have like his backpack and everything?
Oh, he has his backpack. It's
How
great.
exciting.
He was dressed before Joshua was out of bed. So
Oh, fantastic.
yeah, it's a little bit sad to see him grow up. It's crazy how fast time flies. And even with coronavirus, you see some more people coming back to church, other things.
Yep, yeah.
And you haven't seen some people's kids for a while, and they are completely different people now. And it's only been a few months.
Yeah, you grew up, you sprouted, you
Yeah.
changed in so many different ways.
Yeah, people comment about that with Gemma, who's our 1-year-old.
Yes, yeah, she's really gotten big.
Yeah.
I look at her too, and when I see her, it's like, you've grown.
She's a monster.
She's, what are you feeding that child?
She loves eating. Our Joshua didn't eat anything ever. He would drink out of his bottle. He'd drink milk.
Yeah. And that was it?
That was it. If he had a couple of things for dinner, like a couple bites, that was really good for him. And so we had to cut the cord right after his 2nd birthday.
Yeah. You need to start eating solid food.
Well, he would drink out of his bottle. He wouldn't eat anything else. So we took the bottle away. And then he didn't eat or drink for like a day. But then that second day...
Eventually, it's like, okay.
That second day, he ate a ton. More than he'd ever eaten in his life. Maybe combined.
Wow.
And now he sort of eats a little bit. But he still doesn't sit still really well. He needs that structured environment. Yeah. So school is great for him.
We all need that structured environment. Structure helps us. Rhythm helps us.
Yeah.
It's an important thing. We need it.
Yep.
You look confused, Jonathan, as
I never plugged in our microphone. Doop. Able to hear us even better.
Are you serious?
They should have been able to hear us anyways. Any complaints from microphone people?
Well, we probably would have heard that we can't hear you.
Yeah.
Jonathan did not plug in the microphone.
But we're good.
Well, you said you'd watch us. You didn't have to listen to us.
That's true.
There is a difference.
Is anything new going on in your world?
No, nothing. Never. I don't think so. Let me think. I was telling you about that series that I was watching.
Yes.
Turn, Washington Spies. I finished it last night. It's a 4-season Dealy Bobber. And watched the last one. I actually kind of watched the last 3 because once you get into that final downhill, it's like, I just got to keep watching this.
Oh, man.
And
they
so
sucked you in.
I know. So good. That last episode is exactly the way you want episodes to end. Because they basically came to the climax and the whole, big stuff in the penultimate episode. And then the last episode was just kind of putting all the pieces, and it's like, okay, so you kind of like finish up everyone's little stories and more or less.
So did the Americans win?
I can't tell you. I don't want to ruin it for anyone in case they haven't seen it. Just you know how Americans' grasp of history is. They may not know. We're a free country. Did you read your chapter 1?
I did.
I hope that hope you read chapter 1. Yeah, it doesn't take long to read. This is something I was perusing. I reread it at breakfast this morning. Just kind of sat there and went through these 4 pages. I was reminded how deep it is.
Yeah,
it is deep if you don't get in the right mindset.
It's not a casual, I'll just pick it up and read through this.
It is a thinker. You have to think it as you read it.
The first time I picked it up to read, this time again, I was just like, oh, but you're not being trifle naive. I was just like, just reading through, and I was just like, hold on. I am not in the mindset. I have to leave
stop
soon. Because I had about 10 minutes, and I was like, 4 pages, 10 minutes, perfect.
You read it on your drive here, didn't you?
No.
Here's Jonathan.
No, and so after reading the first, not even paragraph, the first 3 sentences,
yeah,
I closed it and said, not right now.
Jonathan.
It wasn't the time. I was not going to process.
Okay.
It was just going to go right in at one ear, out the other. One eye, out the other.
This is the kind of thing that you just need to draw yourself a big bubble bath and sink down into the water with your Screwtape letters and your glass of wine, Jonathan. I can picture this right now, and that's how you close your day, isn't it?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Well, what did you get out of it? So what we're going to do here today, folks, is we're going to kind of, even if you don't have the Screwtape letters or didn't read it, you will be able to glean something from us as we go through this, hopefully, and through our discussion and maybe your questions or your comments. We're going to we'll learn something along the way.
Right, and we're only doing a chapter a day.
Chapter 1 today. So let's see where it takes us.
All right.
Chapter 1. Wormwood. That's how it starts. That's how every letter starts. How do you? Was there anything in there, Jonathan, that really kind of caught you?
From the first paragraph.
From that first paragraph. Like, what did you? What jumped out at you?
The way he talks about humans being easier to manipulate in a way, and just the way things have diminished. That, a few centuries earlier, it would have been much more difficult. Yeah. I mean, the little note I wrote here is humans are less moved by reason and logic today. He's talking to this. He's talking to Wormwood here, and he says, why are you trying to argue with your patient? So remember what's going on here. There's this guy living in World War II London, and Wormwood is the tempting devil that's been assigned to him to get him to fall and to drag him into hell. Kind of the angel on the other. You got your guardian angel on this shoulder.
Your guardian angel and your tempting
tempter.
demon.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to call him. This is your tempting demon. And so his job is to catch this guy and drag him into hell. And so Screwtape says, oh, you naive little fellow, you're trying to get him to fall by thoughts, by arguments, by reasoning him into hell. Like, God is unreasonable and virtue is unreasonable and all these things. But don't you understand that people today aren't moved by reason? That they don't think. There used to be a time when you could argue something and people would be like, that's a good argument. That makes sense. I can't refute that, so it must be true.
And they changed their life because of it.
I remember studying the philosophers, the ancient philosophers like Plato, Socrates, Aristotle. Their whole mindset was, we do things because they're reasonable. Like, right. you do something because that's clearly the way it's got to be. That's clearly the way it is. You can trace the argument and say, if this and that, then this, that, therefore this.
Right.
There's no other way it could be done. But that's not the way people are today.
Amen.
Yeah.
It is a weird world out there.
It's It is. It's a world in here. More
Yeah.
to the point. If this and that, then this, well, A and B, but I still don't think C, because it doesn't feel right.
Right.
Even though it makes sense, it doesn't feel right.
Right.
And so
Q over here seems fun, so I'm going to go do Q.
You can argue it, but and it is one of those things that, I mean, this is what commercials are all about. Advertising. People don't give you a commercial based on reason.
No, we don't get a commercial about broccoli saying, well, this is going to be the healthiest choice you can make today, so eat this.
Well, maybe broccoli they do.
Well, maybe for broccoli.
But like for beer, they don't. Beer. It's like, oh, how do you drink this beer and you're going to be cool.
Or how many commercials do you not even know what the commercial is about until the big reveal at the last 2 seconds?
Yeah, because it draws you in. It's all about making you feel good about yourself, to make you, I want to be in that kind of lifestyle, or I want to do this or that, and it just kind of draws you in. And that's what convinces people. Yeah. People are more convinced by what they feel, their experience, than what they think.
Emotions.
You can reason with someone, and you can say, here are all the reasons why you should not drink and drive. It's a bad idea.
Happens every day.
Here's all the data. Here's all the statistics. And someone can say, yep, that makes sense, that makes sense, that makes sense. I've had a few drinks, I feel buzzed, but I'm good to drive because I feel in this moment that I am. Really? That's not, it doesn't work that way.
No.
So people,
there's a big disconnect.
There's a huge disconnect. Like, we're shutting off our minds, and we're feelers today. We're more feelers than we are thinkers.
And it's sad because the world and the culture are pushing us that way.
It
seems. It's not, don't use your reason, use your emotion. What feels good?
What feels good in the moment? How do you feel? Jonathan, how do you feel? I don't care. I want to know what you think.
There you go.
I want to know what you think. I don't care how you feel. So the evil one here, really, temptation rarely happens in the mind. And let's go on the flip side, Jonathan. If you're a Christian and you're talking to someone who is struggling with faith, or a lot of times what people want to do is they want to go right into apologetics. They want to convince, they want to argue, they want to reason. But for most people, that's not going to convince them. They need to feel the connection with Jesus Christ. They need to feel the experience of the Holy Spirit.
That emotional moment.
That's an important thing. So just as the evil one doesn't go first through the head, but first through the heart, so even as Christians, we cannot make purely rational arguments and expect to win people's hearts.
Right. No, and I think a lot of times we have the retreats that you can go on that are really powerful. A lot of times you get tired, and you're worn out, and it's been long days, and then they bring about this emotional thing, whether it's a topic or something else, because your guard is down. Because that's the other thing is, they want you, the culture and world wants you to feel these things, but it's what they want you to feel, not necessarily what's come up from within.
Right.
And so, because we let our guard down, we don't want people to know that we have been hurt in the past and that we have these wounds.
My brokenness, my temptations, my shadows.
So the best retreats, you get to that point where you actually can have that emotion. Because God wants us to have that emotion. He wants us to feel deeply His love, the sadness maybe in our hearts, or the joy.
Right.
Because He gave those to us.
Yeah.
He wants us to experience those things. And there's always, when it's coming from God, there's good that can come from it.
Right.
Even if it's pain and anguish.
And we are creatures of mind and heart. So we're not saying that feeling things and an emotional spirituality is a bad thing.
No.
What we're saying is that's okay if it's married to reason.
It has to be compatible with that.
They have to be joined together. What Screwtape is telling Wormwood here is disconnect those two things. Disconnect reason from feelings. And what you get is not information, you get propaganda. Propaganda is motivating people by misinformation or by feelings. I want you to be afraid, or I want you to be excited, or I want you to be... This is how governments have moved people from the inception of government, probably.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to employ propaganda, and we're going to move you because we realize that you're not going to think for yourself, and so we just need to stir you up. I mean, that's what both of the conventions are. The Democratic National Convention and the Republican National Convention. They aren't about giving us true information. They are about propagandizing and stirring up the base. Stirring up the people to fear the other side, to be wary of the other side, to get excited about their own side. You know, it's a big pep rally. We do this for sports teams and schools and everything. You need to stir people up to get that emotion and to get them going, because you don't want to reason people. You know, have you ever gone to a pep rally, or have you ever gone to something like that where the cheerleaders come out there and like, okay, everybody, let's think about this for a minute. The other team is got fewer people that are coming back as seniors that played last year. You know, that's not how you win. No, that's not how it works. You stir people up.
That is not how it works.
It's not how it works.
So, because you mentioned the conventions, I overheard yesterday in the office, and hopefully you don't mind me bringing this up, you wanted to go up and look at their platforms for both Republicans and Democrats.
Yes.
To be able, for your own self, because you are going to vote, to make a list of what is their platform and what is morally objectable on each side.
Yes.
Because both sides have things that are morally objectable, if I can speak English. And you had trouble finding those things.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't even matter to them at this point. It's more of, how can I make you feel mad that Donald Trump is president? Or how can I make you feel like Joe Biden's going to die soon and is a terrible person?
Right.
And that's all that they're pushing is those things, instead of like saying, oh, well, we want this because of this.
Yeah.
If this, then that.
Yeah. It is. I approach things through a lot of reason. I'm a head person. And so I sat down with the Democratic platform this year, and I read all 90 pages or however long it was. And they say a lot of things, you know, that sound good and are good, and the desires and the hopes and the dreams and this is and that's and all these things. But it's like, okay, but this, and this, these three things are morally objectionable. We cannot support X, Y, and Z. And I wanted to do that also with the Republican platform, and to pull that out and to identify those things that we cannot as Catholics support and abide by. But of course, the Republicans have decided this year not to present a platform other than to support our president. Now, I'm not making a political this or that statement, but I just think it shows you where we are at today, that reason has fallen by the wayside. Because even as you read the platform that was put forward by the Democratic National Convention, or the party, it is filled with a lot of softness. We want to appeal to every demographic and every person, and we want to say we're sorry to every person that may feel hurt in any way, shape, or form, and we want to, so there's a lot of touchy-feely in it. And so both of them, either not having one or having one, they both leave something to be desired. Oh, we will so have things to talk about as we get closer and further down the road in the election.
Yeah. So another quick thing that he mentioned in here.
Yes.
He mentions, don't waste time trying to make him think that materialism is true. So don't waste time trying to bring out truth. Mm-hmm. Because truth will always lead to God. And so he said instead, make him think it's strong or courageous.
Exactly.
And so that's bringing out those emotions again. It's like, oh yeah, that's a strong decision courageous to come out and do. And it's scary, because that's what happens in this world still today.
I want to we want to talk about the heroes, or we want to talk about, the examples or the whatever that kind of stirs us up, regardless of, should I be doing this? Should I not be doing this? Should I be supporting this? Should I not be supporting this? And it is tricky. It is tricky. But argument always, he says in the top of the next paragraph, the trouble about argument is it moves the whole struggle to the enemy's ground. And when he says the enemy with a capital E, that's code for God. Remember, this is the devil talking, so God is the enemy. And so argument always leads, and we're not talking about argument like fight argument. Like,
no.
Jonathan, I'm just going to fight with you because I don't like you.
No, true argument, which we were talking about before.
Yeah.
The art of the argument has been lost.
Right.
Where I come and present you with some ideas.
And I listen openly.
That actually have some
merit.
Yes. And then you present your ideas, me listening openly.
Compare them
and come together to a conclusion.
Right. And it should be evident. It should be evident to both parties. When you're looking for truth, there's two things that we could probably point out here. Truth either is or is not. And then what you do with that truth is a whole different story. So I mentioned the other, that I had gone through and kind of picked through the platform for the Democratic Party. There were things in there that were simply not true. That abortion is a fundamental right. That is simply not true. That is a moral evil that cannot be tolerated.
Well, it's actually contradictory to what, when we won't get into that.
Right, yeah. That's not the point. But then there are other things and these are the things that we want to achieve. Okay, I can agree with finding ways to make education more affordable, providing health care for the poor and those who need it. These are things that are important. Where I may differ is, how do we do that?
Sure.
How do we find ways to make education more affordable? How do we find... And that you may not agree on. And good people can disagree on the how to get somewhere.
Yes.
But do we agree on where we're going?
Right.
And I think most of us in America today have stopped trying to agree on where we're going and are focused on the argument so much of how we're going to get there. And the reality is, there's 1,000 ways to skin a cat. And there are good people can disagree and still be able to work together on the how if they can agree on where we're going.
Right.
If we agree that healthcare is important, education is important, that life needs to be protected, that the family and marriage are institutions that cannot be poo-pooed. We need to agree on these things, and then we can figure out how to get there. And this is what he's talking about here, getting to the truth.
Right.
What is the truth down here at the other end?
He wants you to argue this side of
He
how.
wants you to have,
Because if you're getting stuck in the how and don't progress, you're never going to get to the end.
Exactly. We're never going to get that far. We're going to just be all here. So it really begs the question at the end of that paragraph, what is real? Plato, Socrates, these ancient philosophers, they had this notion of what's called the unexamined life. And they said the most unhappy person, the unhappiest person, Jonathan, is the person who lives an unexamined life. In other words, you just live on the surface. Mm-hmm. You never go deep. And you just live life from one event to the next event to the next event, and whatever I'm feeling, whatever I'm doing, whatever I'm thinking in the moment. And I never really stop and say, is this where I want to be going?
Well, that's so comfortable.
Yeah, and that's just it. It's comfortable. I want to stay here. Or I want to run away, and maybe I shouldn't be running away, but I'm not going to think about it. The examined life is a life that really says, what is real? What's lasting? What do I want to invest in? What do I want? And once I figure that out, then I'll be happy. But if I just keep the unexamined life is the party lifestyle, the Playboy lifestyle. It's just kind of the Hugh Hefner lifestyle, the college, party atmosphere, the high school party atmosphere. These kids who they just live for the weekend, or adults who do so. It's just kind of like have these highs, one high after another after another.
And then at a certain point, you can't help but be introspective and realize that there's so much emptiness behind it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that is so true. So, looking for the real.
Looking for the real.
He notices, I love this little aside that he says here, "Oh, that abominable advantage of the enemies." He's speaking about the incarnation there, in that as a devil, you are pure spirit, and you want to reason things, because you're a mind. But these humans have bodies, and if we're going to tempt them, then not only do we have to tempt the mind, but we also have to tempt the body. And as we're pointing out, it's more successful to tempt the body, because you are more aware of what your body is up to than you are aware of what your soul is up to.
Yeah.
You're listening to your body all the time. Oh, I've got a pain. Oh, I'm hungry. Oh, I'm tired. Are you ever asking if your soul is tired? If your soul is hungry? If your soul has got a pain? These are not the first questions that we ask ourselves or think about. And that's what gets us into trouble, because we pay attention to all this surface stuff and neglect the deeper stuff. So I think as we go forward here, I don't want to spend too much time just kind of hanging out in the first part of this chapter. I mean, you can see, you could spend so much time here. That the evil one really makes use of good intentions. So he tells the story of his guy who's sitting there thinking down the pathway that's going to lead him towards God.
Right.
And the devil is like, oh no.
Because this guy's an atheist.
Yeah, he's getting closer to God. I don't want to get in there and argue it, because the argument, I'm going to lose the argument, because it's going to lead to truth, and he's going to see that God is the truth, and what do I do? What do I do? Why don't I encourage him to listen to his empty stomach, to go get a sandwich?
Well, you should go get lunch.
Get lunch. You're having a very important thought. And if you really want to have that thought, why don't you just push the pause button?
You don't want to do it on an empty stomach.
No, get some food.
Yeah.
Nourish yourself, and then you'll be able to come back and continue this very deep thought.
That's what you need to be able to complete it.
Absolutely, and it sounds reasonable. That's what the tempter does. He says, you want to get to this good goal? I want you to get to that good goal. And in order to get there, you should do this thing, because it will get you to that good goal. And that's how he gets him off the track. The guy stops thinking about God. He goes outside. The noise of the world gets in the way. Oh, look at the bus. Oh, look at the sandwich. Oh, look at the... And he never gets back to thinking God, and he's been derailed.
Nope.
Boom. So, distraction, but good intention. How many times good intention... And we've heard that before. The road to hell is paved by good intentions. That I just have this good intention. I have this good intention, but I never do the good thing.
Right.
It's all good intentions, but is it the good thing?
I've been meaning to go work at the soup kitchen, volunteer at the soup kitchen.
I've been meaning to exercise.
I've been meaning to start praying every day again.
I've been meaning to eat healthy. All these things. Well, it's not going to do you any good until you do it. So he kind of concludes here with, keep him focused on the ordinariness of things. That you don't want... Keep the familiar in front of them. Keep them focused on the stuff that's right in front of them. Don't let them start thinking about the bigger questions, the bigger pictures. And he even says, keep them away from real science.
Real science.
Real science, where you start to explore the universe, or explore biology, or explore chemistry. Get into the... Because eventually you're going to come to a point where you have to ask the bigger questions. What does this mean? How is this possible? Where did it start? Right. And that might lead you to a creator.
It will always lead you. If you pursue it, it will always lead you to a creator and to God.
And to the meaning of life.
Yes.
So keep him involved in the stuff of the world. Keep him involved in economics, or keep him involved in sociology or whatever. Because then they'll be kind of distracted and never really think, what is the big picture? So Jonathan, your homework was to give this chapter a title.
Yes.
What did you title your chapter?
I put the question up for everybody else, potentially. It might not pop up on Facebook. We will find out here in a second. For those of you that are on Vimeo, a question just popped up.
What? Oh, and it pops up on Facebook too, Jonathan.
Oh, so please share with us in the comments. My title for chapter 1, I couldn't decide, and I was talking to you. I was wrestling with it, and I'll just take it straight from the chapter.
Okay.
The pressure of the ordinary.
The pressure of the ordinary. Don't go too deep. I titled mine. What did I title mine? The Fall of Reason. That we don't think anymore. We just feel. We're a bunch of feelers. And I think Michelle, she asks a question about, we see all the protests and the turmoil that's going on in our world, and without going down too far into the rabbit hole about how that relates to what we're talking about today, I do think that it's necessary to protest sometimes. It's necessary to stand up for an injustice and to fight for justice and what is right and true and good. But I think so much can be meant when protests turn violent and destructive. You're no longer moved by your reason. You're moved by feelings. Because now I'm getting into revenge. Now I'm getting into I want to destroy something. Did you ever watch the movie Fight Club?
I did.
This is a classic movie. I love that movie. Fight Club.
You would.
It's amazing. It's a little violent and racy and all that kind of stuff. But there's this point in there, and I think we talked about this on the show once before, that there's a point in there where this one guy, he just beats up this other fellow, like pulverizes him, disfigures his face and everything. And he was a handsome guy. And when in the end, when he was talking about that experience, he said, I don't know, I just needed to destroy something beautiful. There was that horrible whatever in the heart that just needed a visceral response. And what ended up happening was something that was true, good, and beautiful was destroyed. That if we're not careful with our emotions and our feelings, we can get carried away by them and end up being destructive rather than creative.
And almost become blind to what you're actually doing.
Yeah. I think what many people forget, and we'll probably talk about this later on, love is not a feeling. Love is not a movement of the heart. Love is a movement of the mind. It is a choice that we make. I choose the good of another person, and I will do everything I can to love that person, to do what is good and right for that person. And when we forget that we are created to be creatures of the mind, and we're only creatures of our feelings, then we're no better than the animals. Because the animals only act on instinct. They do what they feel.
Right.
In the moment, by instinct. Human beings are created to be something other than animals. The evil one will always want to draw us back into an animal reality.
Less than human.
Be a beast. Don't be a human being. Don't be like God. Be some creature that is moved only by your sexuality, only by your stomach, only by your fear, only by the hormones and the things that are coursing through your veins. Be moved only by that. Don't use your mind. The Fall of Reason, Jonathan.
Fall of Reason.
Or focus on the ordinary. What did you say your title was?
The pressure of the ordinary.
The pressure of the ordinary. Don't think
pressure
about
to
these
stay in the
things.
ordinary.
Stay where you are, but don't stay where you are. Go out and do something good today. Use your mind. Engage your heart, but connect it to your mind. Don't let those two things get separated. Watch out for the evil one. He's got lots of good intentions, but he wants to steer you off the track.
Amen. Tomorrow, chapter 2.
Chapter 2. we will get deeper into the Screwtape letters.
Holy biscuits.
I'm going to start right now, Jonathan.
All right.